we need to come at this from an approach of understanding that there's a big toolbox. There's a lot of different approaches. There is no one-size-fits-all single silver bullet solution to online child safety. It takes a lot of different tools.
So Marion and Carol, when I think of Trend Micro and I think of Norton, which, if you don't know, Norton is the product for Symantec.
Yeah, it's the consumer brand.
Is a consumer brand. Or when I think of McAfee, I think of viruses and I think of malware and I think just that. But I think you guys in your companies have gone actually beyond that into another area that many people don't even think about. You want to tell us about that a bit?
Absolutely.
You can tout as much as you want.
That's wonderful. Absolutely. So Norton provides a free family safety service that works on PC and Mac, and it's called onlinefamily.norton. And I got to say, in its first year, it's just taken off like gangbusters because it really fills a need. You've got your security suite, you've got your internet security, your Norton 360. That's great. That's going to prevent you from getting code problems into the house. But what are you going to do to enforce those family rules that you just referred to? Time limits, or certain sites are not allowed, and you want to do something different for different age groups. This is, some of this has been out there for quite a long time. But what we found is that not everyone wants to spend the money to invest in some additional piece of software. So it's nice that this is something you can get for free. Additionally, it's web-based. So you're at work, you want to take a quick look at what your kids are doing when they got home from school, or you want to respond to a request to make an adjustment. The fact that it's online makes it just really user-friendly, which I think that's one of the reasons the appeal's been so strong. We did a study this year. We came out with a study looking at what kids were searching on, because it's one of the great features. It actually looks at what kids search on in search engines and also on Craigslist and YouTube and things like that. And by looking at the millions and millions of different searches that kids being monitored by the software were doing, we could see that kids as young as 5, 6, 7, 8 are looking up terms like sex and porn. Now, a lot of parents will say, hey, not my kid. Or they'll refute the study and say, it was an older kid using a younger kid's account. I'm here to tell you the data was big. And what this really means is, once again, the role of the parent, super important, because in the old days, if I wanted to look up the dirty word I heard at school, I went off and, got the old dictionary out, and no one knew any better that I'd looked it up. Well, obviously, in today's online family environment, mom and dad can know and can start a conversation about it.
Everybody's probably wondering, what were the top 5?
So the top 5 were, YouTube, Google, Facebook, sex, and porn. I think I got sex and porn slightly out of order, but YouTube definitely is the first. If you're not aware yet, YouTube is the #1 activity for children. I think it's the #4 site globally, but kids are all over it. And again, there are things that mom and dad can do to make YouTube a safer and more appropriate experience. But if you don't take that action, there's a lot of objectionable material.
Which, by the way, listening to the 5, I think it applies to adults, whether you're going to admit it or not, just like the kids. Carol, do you want to talk about something you said to me earlier, which was about reputation? Sure. And when you were talking about it, I think of the protection, and I think a lot of people do, the protection world as things coming in, right? Your tool is going, no, you can't go in. Yes, you can come in. No, you can't go in, right? Wax on, wax off. You can do that. But then there's something that we don't often talk about, which is what's going out.
Right.
So let's talk about reputation for a second.
Well, so the concerns that we see most when we talk to parents, most parents have concerns about inbound and then outbound communication, the content going out. I would say the industry, the security industry, Trend Micro included, historically we've really looked at technology to prevent what's coming in, right? So your child cannot surf to guns.com, porn site, sex.com, etc. That is historically where we've focused. Filtering, stopping, you just can't go. The piece where we're doing some innovative work, and I believe Symantec is as well, is how do you monitor and prevent what's going out, the content that's going out. So it's not malware, it may not even be cyberbullying someone else. Let me just give you one quick example. My daughter sent out an email to some friends, and she's in 6th grade, and the preteen stuff is all kicking in, and she inadvertently or advertently mentioned she liked some kid in the class. Well, this is very typical. The girls are like these packs chasing the boys, and the boys are pretty much clueless in 6th grade. And she sent out this email saying, oh, I think he's kind of nice, cute, whatever. This email got forwarded all around. She was mortified and eventually got back to the boy. You know how this goes. But technology is so easy in that sense on the outbound side, very easy to push a button and share with many more people than you think you're sharing with. So what are some of the tools? We actually, last year, we partnered with Cisco Linksys to actually embed our technology for both the inbound prevention piece and the outbound monitoring piece into Linksys routers. And the reason we did that is because while this PC in your home is probably, hopefully you have your parental controls on it, we found that a lot of kids are highly mobile. They have these iTouches, PSPs that actually are, that are actually mobile, and they're moving in and out of each other's homes. My colleague actually set up one of these Linksys routers with the Trend technology on it at his swimming pool. No surprise. After 1 month, pulled up the report, web-based console, what's happening at this swimming pool for 5 to 17-year-olds, community swimming pool in Pleasanton, California. Turns out, #1 subject matter that was searched for, porn, right? Maybe it was the parents, but actually it was mostly the children. So, there are tools. I think it's only half the battle, right, in how you monitor and protect. The whole conversation, and I'm sure you have this in your book, actually I probably need to read it, about how do you help your children make common sense decisions about managing their reputation online.
Yeah,
I think
so that was perfect. Stephen, most people, I think, in the parental world, what do they think of when they think of games? And I know many parents don't even think games, safety, they don't even go together.
Right.
Why would anybody think that? So what I want you to talk about or ask you is, how is gaming changed from even 20 years ago and really focus on the peer-to-peer aspect of it?
Sure. So when I grew up in the video game world, it was in the world of physical arcades, where you were present with your opponent. And if you said some of the things that sometimes occur online to that person physically, there would be an immediate repercussion. Either that person would take action or someone, hopefully in the arcade, would step in. And as we get into the wonderful communication abilities that the internet gives us, and especially things like Xbox Live, where we now have over 20 million people on our service all playing games together, doing things like photo sharing or Netflix parties, there's this huge communication aspect that's opened up that people just don't realize, especially when those services start to add things like social networking functions. You can now access Twitter through Xbox or Facebook, or in your profile for your Xbox you can put that you live in a particular place. Speaking about reputation, sometimes we'll see a child will put in their biography section, I live at blah blah such and such road, comma, Seattle, Washington. Not knowing that that might not be a good thing to disclose to people. Now the good thing is that in a lot of cases with our parental controls, when you set up child accounts, adult accounts can't see them or interact with them without the parent providing permission. But there's still this sense of gaming has become this world where instead of this simple, anonymous, I'm competing against you but I can't communicate with you, now we have a rich experience. Now we have voice, and now we have video, and now we have all these different things that can come together to provide a great experience for multiplayer aspects, but at the same time can expose us to a lot of communication that the child may not be, that you may not want the child exposed to. So we approach it from a couple of different ways. The first is we do have parental controls in the Xbox system. We have that in two forms: the Xbox controls themselves that you can set on the console, as well as the actual behind-the-scenes limitations we put when a child account is created. For instance, a child account won't receive any advertisements on their Xbox dashboard, and they won't receive any notifications of M-rated games or content that is above a certain level. Those are good things to have. We also have things like timers, which you can set for the child to only have a certain amount of time on the system. But people don't often think about that multiplayer aspect. They think more along the lines of, I don't want the child sitting in front of the video game machine for a long time. That's great. We have a website that we give advice on about healthy gaming and safe gaming called getgamesmart.com. But also be aware of that multiplayer aspect, because people just don't realize that when their child is sitting there playing a multiplayer game, they are in fact interacting in real time with people. It's just good to know. It's good to be there, because every once in a while I'll speak with a parent who's